for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Back on this rap-ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't missing my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own, tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu, and I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody's south of Capitol Hill's rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and plan to getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
That Dre season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace. I prefer if you just said it to my face, damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Average dudes with they average spit, writing average rhymes, knocking average chicks. The closer I get, I can feel the people starting to shift. I'm loyal to a fault, and everybody can't come with. Rap's a rich man's game, I'm only playing with change. They bang models and singers, I'm knocking my old flame, I'm different. The crowd, I move with the chosen few. Black thoughts, I could be the front man for the roots. No diamonds and gold, I'm on my sticks and stones. If we can see your panty line, you should have on a thong. My team is strong, through this fire we forged a bond. And they already know what it is when I get on. To the hearse, party like it's December 31st. When I'm on my deathbed, I probably cracking my nurse. You ain't got the bars to compete, I'm a verbal athlete. Deflating these boys so they say that I cheat. Damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah. I should probably start by apologizing for the long wait, man. You know, I know I be tripping. But I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist. And, you know, my creative process is a little bit different than most. Nonetheless, I want to welcome everybody out to the Dre's Experience. I got TCF in the building. My whole camp's here with me. I got the band in here laying this cool-ass vibe. And I'm Seattle's own. Let's get into it.
I just want to live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
Welcome everybody to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host Trey Holiday. Happy, bright and beautiful Monday to all of you out there. I'm so glad to get into this episode with my guy, my partner, co-host with the most, Big O. What up, Big O?
Trey Holiday.
Hey.
What's up? Happy Monday to you.
Happy Monday, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. You know, people who follow us on the social platforms, see, we were in Spokane yesterday.
That's right.
Spoke-Compton.
Spoke-Compton, you know, quick trip, but really got some great info out there.
Yeah,
man.
learned a lot about Spokane. And people could probably tell. We'll be over in the 509. The Morning Update Show will be over there very soon. Good morning. I want to welcome everybody to the Morning Update Show and remind you, right now, this very moment is the perfect opportunity for you to tag and share the stream. Go ahead and tag and share the stream with people who you feel would appreciate culturally relevant news and information emanating from right here in the Emerald City. Want to give a big shout out to our partners over at the South Seattle Emerald and also KBCS 91.3 Bellevue College. Remind everybody you can listen to the Morning Update Show anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. Right there, they're putting SoundCloud into the comments, but also on Google, Spotify, Apple iTunes, everywhere. And people all over are listening to the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a beautiful thing. And even as we were over there in Spokane, I'm like, man, they got access to us over here too. It's great.
Yeah, according to Keith Anchor over the Soundcasting Network, I think we need a 7% increase in listenership, and we'll be in the top 10% of all podcasts.
Wow.
But there is a lot of podcasts that are out there, but so we doing something. People are listening. Hey, it's a new week here. We said that it was coming, so this week we're on our No Excuses. There it is. Look at that No Excuses squad right there. Remind you that a great way to support Black-owned independent media while letting people know that you ain't with the excuses. Like we say in the hood, cut the crap.
Yeah, cut the crap. I love it because you had it on out in Spokane, and people were like, "Yeah, man, no excuses, man."
No excuses. No. I'm saying we're getting ready. The ballots are getting released here, or sent out here on July 13th. I guess tomorrow the ballots go out. It's no excuses. You know what I'm saying? Let's really hold these people running for office to a higher level. As usual, I want to remind everybody the vaccine is free in King County. You can go get the vaccine. It's free everywhere for the person being vaccinated. It's not really free because the taxpayers paid for it. But if you need a vaccination, you can get one free of charge, and it's out there. And it's a lot of hesitancy, Trey Holiday. In our community, when we look at these numbers and we look at city of Seattle with a very high vaccination rate, in King County the rate is getting up there. But unfortunately, a lot of people in our community don't make up those numbers of people who've been vaccinated. And we really want to be intentional in addressing vaccination hesitancy in our community. And I think we're going to continue to do that because I think it's important that we talk about why people don't want to get vaccinated. And I'm not here to you better do this, you better do that. But I think through discussion, we can get a better understanding as to why there is hesitancy in our community and other communities of color, especially around the vaccination.
Absolutely, and I think it's so wide-ranging, that when we talk about really understanding more by listening to folks and those wide-ranging viewpoints and perspectives, I think that really paints a clearer picture of what we're dealing with. But also, too, I think this is such a unique time we're in where, we had this pandemic. Everybody is now dealing with, well, how do we deal with the pandemic? And the vaccines are there to be an answer to this. And so I think that we're really in a very unique time right now where people are trying to, combat a lot of different ideologies, a lot of different ideals that are coming to them, and a lot of information. So it'd be great to get people on the record.
Right, as usual, man. We want to be able to get the information out to our community as accurate and as efficient as possible. Speaking of the vaccine, though, dun 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 dun.
But before you find a date chain, you gotta wait chain. Gotta go vaccinate chain, get it straight chain. Girl, you look good, want you vax that thing up. You's a handsome young brother, want you vax that thing up. Dating real life, you need to vax that thing up. Feeling freaky all night, you need to vax that thing up. Girl, you look good, want you vax that thing up. You's a handsome young brother, want you vax that thing up. Dating real life, you need to vax that thing up. Feeling freaky all night, you need to vax that thing up.
You need to vax that thing up.
Vax that thing up. They are serious right now about getting this vaccine out to the Black community, particularly. Man, you're not hiring, the crew over there. You're not hiring them if you're not really trying to make sure Black folks are hearing this message, man.
That's your epic joint. Juvenile, Manny Fresh, Mia X. You might remember the original back
that thing up.
Yeah, it was something else, but yeah. Because communication is coming at all levels here today. Before I jump into the headlines, man, so we'll go through some headlines here today and also look at some of the stuff we did at the Waterfront over the weekend. But also, KUOW put out an article last week in which they outlined the chain of events around the abandonment of the East Precinct and who they're saying gave the order. So we want to kind of discuss that, and we will do that. We'll get through some of these headlines first. First up, though, man, this is more shootings in the city. This comes from Capitol Hill Seattle blog. Shooting at Broadway and Pike sends one to the hospital. It's Justin Carter over there. One person taken to the hospital early Sunday morning around Pike and Broadway, right there at the gas station. They said that 25 shell casings near the scene of the gas station there happened around 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. One male, believed to be in his 20s, was struck there, transported himself to the hospital.
Yeah, this is, I feel like every single week we have reportings on shootings, maybe even sometimes multiple times a week. But it feels like it's definitely happening for us once a week. And to be honest, it's one of those things that, because we do this show, it keeps me on alert, man. Now I'm like, okay, young male in his 20s, like, what are the demographics of this young male? Is it somebody that my little brothers know? Is it somebody my sister knows? It just makes me go through every emotion possible when we talk about these shootouts. And as always, whoever the family is of this young man that was shot, we're sending you love immediately, coming straight from me to you.
Yeah, 25 guns, 25 shots fired up there. They're putting a link in the comments. You can read more about this at Capitol Hill Seattle blog. It's talking about also just an increase actually in crime in the general vicinity that's over there. This is occurring in our city, and we're going to keep talking about violence in the city, and especially gun violence here. Guys, I reached out. So the Jerk Shack, Trey Lamont, the other Trey Lamont had posted on his social media. Trey Lamont's the chef over at the Jerk Shack in Belltown, that he was taking out all of his wines, removing all of his wines and replacing it with Frechette. Frechette is a winery that's over in Benton County. People don't know where is Benton County, so you might know some cities in Benton County. Kennewick and Richland, two of the three Tri-Cities, are in Benton County. The third one is in Franklin County. That's Pasco. But Frechette Winery over there, black-owned winery, and he took all the wines out of the Jerk Shack. So all the wines, European wines, Argentinian wines, all the wines. It's just this black wine that's in there in the Jerk Shack. And I was like, man, this is interesting. So as usual, took the camera phone collective, me and my trusty iPhone, and checked in with Trey Lamont.
The wines we carry here at the Jerk Shack are all from Frechette Winery. That is the only black-owned winery in Washington State, in Yakima Valley, Benton County, in Yakima Valley. We wanted to be intentional because no other restaurant in this state that I know of has the fortitude to take all the old school wines from Europe off of their shelves and replace them with a black winery to promote change. And no one's willing to do that, but we are, because we're about that life. We preach, we practice what we preach, and we want to change the narrative and be a part of that change 100%. Representation matters, and if I go into a restaurant and they don't have at least one black wine on their shelves that I can purchase, I think that's very disrespectful, because Frechette's not the only winery that's owned by a black woman in the United States. And if you don't have one, I challenge restaurants and other bars and venues to show some courage and do the right thing.
Do the right thing indeed, man. Shout out to you, Trey Lamont, another Garfield grad. I got to throw that in there, my guy Trey, who, honestly, you stay committed to your messaging. You stay connected to community, and you're proving how you can do so in the restaurant industry, man. So shout out to you, Trey, because I agree. And I don't know if y'all saw how beautiful that bottle was, but that sachet was looking amazing.
Yeah, there's black women there on the wine bottles. And that's Frechette Winery over in Benton County, and we're putting the link in the comments right now. You can go and check them out, get you some wine directly from Frechette, or of course go down there to the Jerk Shack. Now, you mentioned Garfield, and one of the things that's making the news right now is about the Garfield Superblock. Garfield Superblock project seeks to fulfill broken promises in the Central District. This is from the Capitol Hill Seattle blog, and this is Ryan Packer. So I know you're involved in the Superblock project. Maybe you can tell everybody briefly, what is the Superblock all about?
Yeah, Garfield Superblock is a continued effort. It's been over 15 years of community really allowing their voice to be at the center of a redevelopment project for Garfield Park. And, you know, it started with community members saying, you know, we need to beautify this park. We need new restrooms here at this park. We need new facilities. We really want to be able to also stamp history into the park by showcasing the cultures that have really made the Central District what it is. And, you know, for me, I got to be really particular about the importance of Black community being a part of this and being uplifted and showcased in terms of all of the brilliance that was brought from Black people to the Central District. But we also have the historical cultures that have been there as well that made it their home. And so Garfield Superblock is really aiming to bring community into it because, again, this has been something that's been sitting kind of on City of Seattle shelves for quite some time. And it's time to really push this project forward and see it across the finish line. So they're having an amazing event happening this Wednesday right there at Garfield Park. You guys can come out, hear some DJs, grab some food, hear a little bit more about the project, and find out how you can get yourself involved. And that's this Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
Well, all right. This Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll be there,
right.
man.
No, I know you'll be there. You know, I'm going to bring my trusty iPhone.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy because we got a lot of cameras around here these days. Thank you to all you guys out there supporting us. You know what I'm saying? But the camera phone collected for the win.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It does it still.
My daddy always says, you know, as a photographer, that, you know, the camera at the end of the day, it's an extension, it's a tool. You know what I'm saying? The real process is up here. So
that's right.
Man, this was one, and I'm sorry I missed it. It was right around the corner at Merchants. Tina Bell. So before Nirvana or Pearl Jam, there was Tina Bell, the grandmother of grunge musicians. Musicians pay tribute in upcoming concert. Now the concert already occurred, but the late Tina Bell was the lead singer of a rock group, Bam Bam, here in Seattle. And basically the legacy of Bell as a Black woman who's often overlooked in a genre typically associated with long-haired white guys. Now Tina Bell was getting it in back in like the 80s. And Bam Bam was the band that other turned out to be Seattle rock legends kind of looked up to. And one of the people they talk about here in this article, and by the way, Seattle Times, and it's by Jade Yamazaki Stewart, Kurt Cobain from Nirvana, and all these guys, you know, they looked up to Bam Bam. And they had a concert the other night, and it was real intentional with even the artists that were on there. And some were Shayna Shepherd, Eva Walker, Demetrius Smith. And one of the quotes that's in here in this article, and we'll put the link there in the comments, Bell didn't get the record deals and fame some white male grunge artists achieved because people in power in the music industry didn't give her the shot that she deserved. They were too blind to see that America was ready for a Black superstar, a gorgeous lady up front in a hard rock band. And so the legacy, I didn't know anything about Tina Bell, and I'm just kind of learning right now. So I wanted to put it in the show, but man, I got to reach out to Shayna and Eva and everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I really want to learn more about it. But back in the 80s.
Wow. I mean, that's one of the things when we talk about the ways that history is shaped up, you guys, we always understand that there's so many different things happening behind the scenes. And for so many of the record executives, you know, grunge was coming out of Seattle, and they were really trying to market it in a way that was real specific in terms of the look and feel of grunge. We know this. If you go through the Seattle journey at Mohi, it talks a lot about some of those bands that were not recognized. And, you know, clearly I'm glad that they were able to put this event on for Bam Bam, and also to really recognize Tina Bell's legacy in grunge music. It's a beautiful thing for us to begin to learn more too, because these are layers pulled back in the city we didn't know existed. So it's a great thing for us to learn more.
Right, and apparently we could be on the lookout for a segment from CBS this morning. I guess Gail was intentional and reached out, and so I'm really looking forward to that. Last week, especially for people in the Central District or use Jimi Hendrix Park, you know, it was a lot of noise, or not even noise, it was an official statement that Jimi Hendrix Park was going to be cleared. And one of the things they were going to clear out of there was the garden from the Black Star Farmers. You can go ahead and put this up, please. community garden still rooted in Jimi Hendrix Park, despite city's demands to leave. This is from the South Seattle Emerald. It's written by Andrew Ingleson, and we'll go ahead and put this link in the comments there. So basically, there's Marcus Henderson. Man, they said the farm is still there. It's growing lettuce, pumpkins, cucumbers, and other produce, despite demands from Seattle Parks and Recreation that the activists move it, right? They went out there on the 8th. It was supposed to be cleared on the 8th at 9 a.m. And apparently staff from Seattle Parks and Recreation went to Jimi Hendrix Park. They were met by some activists who basically surrounded the garden. And Seattle Parks Department, they had a change of heart. They were like, well, this is no longer safe to move the garden. What Seattle Parks Department is saying is they want to assist Black Star farmers with finding another location. Marcus is like, yo, this stuff is deeply rooted in the ground now. If you just take it out the ground, you're going to miss a cycle there. But this garden, if you remember, people that have been following things ever since the CHOP, the initial garden was right there over in Cal Anderson Park, right? That's where the first garden was at. It says that this garden there at Jimi is a network of 6 food plots across the south end designed to draw attention to the need for equitable use of public space, environmental equity, and the lack of access to fresh food near communities of color. And so the farm is still over there right now at Jimi Hendrix Park.
Yeah, you know what?
The garden, excuse me.
The garden. The thing is that, to be honest, activism takes on many different forms. And when we're talking about needing to uplift and amplify the need for real sustainable changes to be made, this is one of them. Access to healthy food is such a huge issue. We have food deserts here. A lot of urban areas experience that. Everybody can't afford Whole Foods. The fact that we have community solutions that are really looking to, equify, bring equity into this is important. I mean, a lot of these guys, they create these food boxes that you can go and pick up for just any type of donation. They have it for free if you need it. And at the end of the day, it's really supporting families. And I think about this all the time, when we talk about what the needs are in our communities. These guys are doing an amazing job of really keeping the farm, their garden, so nice. And honestly, they've done such great work. It's one of those things that I'm really glad Seattle Parks was able to say, you know what, hey, maybe we won't do this right now. Maybe let's try to figure something else out. But I do think when we talk about spaces, is particularly green spaces being equitable, that's exactly what Garfield Superblock is talking about. Like, look, we need to do something different with this park. Those guys were saying, look, there was space right here. We're going to do some activism by bringing a garden to this space, but then utilizing what's produced from that garden to really bring healthy options to our community members. So it's a full-on holistic approach. It's not just, we're going to occupy this space with this garden. It's also, no, we're going to utilize the fruits from the labor, bring people in, allow them to give to the labor of the garden, and then make sure that our families are getting healthy options. So to be honest, me. I'm always community minded, man.
I was about to say, there's
kudos to y'all.
There's no hiding how you feel about the garden there in Jimi Hendrix Park. Last time I saw Marcus, though, he had actually dropped off one of those boxes that you were talking about. He dropped off all this produce and natural organic stuff and everything else. So we'll keep an eye on that. I think, though, as far as clearing parks, this garden to the side, Jimi Hendrix Park is probably one of especially for a park that size, it's probably one of the clearest parks you'll find in Seattle. There isn't any encampment there. I mean, there's Omari, but Omari Tahir, when I talked to him, he said he's on the property of the building, and not on the property of the park. So, yeah. All right. So last week we were there at the Waterfront. Right, morning update show last Friday. We were there at Pier 62. Friends of the Waterfront had us down there. Got to talk to a lot of great people over there at Friends of the Waterfront, and really check out their intentions of what's going on there. But you gotta check stuff out. People are like, this is a place for everybody. I'm the kind of person to show up, be like, hey, everybody's here. What's up? But somebody we've had on the show a lot, Takia Ward, T-Dub. You talked to T-Dub, and you asked Takia what the process was like and what it's been like to be the artist in residence there at Friends of the Waterfront at Pier 62.
It's been amazing. The Friends of Waterfront Seattle put together a call for artists, asking for people to come and figure out ways to curate at the space artistically. I answered the call. I was the person chosen, and it was an amazing experience. Definitely, it's been a wild ride.
Well, before I pass it, I mean, one of the things that they said that I really appreciated was the intentionality about not just having you come down, because I remember hearing this announcement and going, remember, I text you like, congrats, oh my God, but I didn't know what it meant exactly, right? And so just listening to Yoon and Sarnisha, so much of their approach is about being intentional to bring people from the community into this entire design of how they're going to start approaching programming and approaching things like bringing artists in and local folks in. And so I think, you know, in terms of your experience thus far for you, that intentionality, how does that play out in the role that you're playing here at the Waterfront?
Yeah, I definitely think it was, you know, what needed to happen. I think given the fact that, you know, where we are now in the world and like the whole sort of like situation of like having people that do things that have experience, and being the fact that I've never done anything curatorial before, and Friends of Waterfront took a chance on me and we were able to do something amazing. And you know, we had a lot of bumps in the roads, a lot of wallowing, a lot of pivoting, but we were able to make and curate something that was beneficial for so many different groups. We were very intentional about making sure that all cultures were represented, all age groups, all the demographics were here, and we ended up putting together 3 activations actually, past, present, and future, that sort of spoke to those times. And I'm super happy with what came out. I'm so thankful to Friends of Waterfront and Vivian Phillips for their support through the whole process. What started out was supposed to be a 3-month activation ended up going a little bit longer, but I think the final product was definitely worth, you know, the lapse in time.
Yeah, absolutely it was. And the truth of the matter is that, you know, I'm really excited, that we were able to spend some time at the Waterfront and learn more about this effort because, again, I think, as I said there, you know, I was just congratulating T-Dub for like another thing. You know, I'm like, you're blowing up and this is great to see. But I think in terms of what she said there is so key that, you know, they were able to really do something that was sustainable, really incorporating all of these cultures, age groups, and being intentional about it. And T-Dub just has such a beautiful heart for community. And so I'm glad that she's there bringing her brilliance to the Waterfront efforts.
Yeah, no doubt. And wherever T-Dub goes, Mama T-Dub shows up. There's a whole cheering section.
Yeah, I love it.
No, it was pretty dope. And then also, and I know we're moving a bit quickly this morning, everybody. We wanted to give some time here after the break to talk about this East Precinct. So if we're moving quickly, my apologies. But the next day, Saturday, was the Waterfront Block Party, right? And hosted on the live stream by Basa Gordon and G. Prez Aspie. And one of the things people always talk about on the Waterfront is the aquarium. You know, for sure. This aquarium is there. This is Basa. Basa sat down with Jim Wharton from the Seattle Aquarium and got some information about what's going on at the aquarium right now.
Okay, so tell me this. What does Pier 62 being open mean for the aquarium right now?
This is tremendous because there's one thing the aquarium doesn't have, which is much space. And so things like our summer camps, our toddler programs, this is an opportunity for them to get out and stretch their legs a little bit, do some activities here. We also love that it draws people to the waterfront and brings more. I think it's going to bring a lot of locals down. Yeah. And we would love to see more locals. A lot of times, people who come to the aquarium, they come when someone's in town, don't necessarily come as much as they might enjoy it. So we think if they're coming down here and they're at the waterfront, they're at Pier 62, we're right next door, so why not come by?
I have a question. You mentioned something about summer camps. I didn't know about this. Can you tell us a little bit about what the aquarium summer camps are like?
Oh, sure. So on a normal year, we would have 20 or 30 kids at a time. They're coming, they're doing activities at the aquarium. They're going out into the beaches on Puget Sound. They're learning about the animals, learning about their role in ocean conservation. And, you know, this year it's a little bit different, right? Everything's a little different this year. So we have a fewer kids, but we have them coming with their families. Yeah. And so it's more of a family camp, which is actually kind of cool in its own way. And so they're coming and spending some time at the aquarium, learning about the seals and sea lions that live here, the plankton that live in the sound. Yeah. So just having a lot of fun and learning a lot.
What does entry for the aquarium look like right now?
Well, actually, we have a plan-ahead pricing program that allows people to sort of choose how much they're going to pay. The earlier you book a ticket, online, the less it's going to cost, and a little bit more towards the day that you arrive. And so,
Okay.
so it varies a little bit, but it's around $30. And if you plan ahead, you can save a few bucks.
Okay, are there any programs that are like that you're surprised to already be able to do right now with the aquarium, with you guys just now opening back up?
That's a great question. I think we were a little nervous about doing any kind of summer camps this year, so we're really happy to be able to offer that opportunity. But we're being very, very careful.
Yeah.
And we're being very conservative with the health of our staff, the health of our visitors. We want to be able to give people the opportunity to physically distance if they'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
So we've relaxed some restrictions, but we're also keeping a few of them in place just so that, you know, as you know, Seattle and our community eases back into whatever normal looks like, the new normal that comes after, everybody can feel safe and welcome at the aquarium.
What is your favorite thing about the pier?
Oh, about Pier 62?
Yes.
I just love that it's going to bring our community together. So I love that it's going to bring people down to the waterfront. We love to have people at the aquarium. We love people to have on the waterfront. We're looking forward to the new waterfront and everything that's going to happen along there. And I think the more welcoming, inclusive spaces we can create along the waterfront and in Seattle, the better.
I love it. Let everybody know what days you guys are open, what times they can come in, so that way they can come down to the aquarium.
Open every day. Come on down anytime between 10 and 5.
Aw, this is great because, you know, not only were we there to really celebrate the activation of the waterfront, but it's so great to be able to get the information out there to the community. And just like Besa, I was not aware of summer camps over there, so I'm going to have to look into this, though.
Yeah, no, the aquarium is on and cracking. And actually, in the full interview, Besa asked him, like, what's up? I guess it's the aquarium after dark. Where you know you got to be 21 to get in, and you get your drink and your two-step underneath the big dome. He said it's coming. Jim Wharton was like, yeah, not yet, but it's coming. It's coming. We're gonna take a break right now. When we come back, we're gonna discuss KUOW's article about who gave the order at the East Precinct. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey everybody, we all know that COVID-19 has had a major impact on everything this year, even energy bills. Puget Sound Energy understands the ongoing struggle that's facing its customers. And this is why they're offering a COVID bill assistance program of up to $2,500 per qualified customer. If you or anyone you know are currently behind on energy bills, please contact PSC today to discuss all of the assistance options available. Visit psc.com/COVID to learn more.
Hey guys, it's Besa Gordon from Converge Media. You can catch me on my show Rewind with Besa, which airs every other Saturday at 2 p.m. anywhere you watch Converge Media. Now, I know a lot of us still have questions about the COVID-19 vaccine. However, here are a couple things you don't have to question. Everyone 12 years and older in Washington State are now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. It's free, and you don't even need insurance or citizenship status to get vaccinated. If you still have questions, and I know you probably do, you can visit kingcounty.gov/COVID for additional information. You can also call the King County COVID-19 call center at 206-477-3977 to get COVID-19 and the vaccination questions answered, get translation services if needed, set up an in-home vaccination. Someone you know may not be comfortable at a vaccination site due to a disability, anxiety, or other reasons. Look, with summer being here, now is the time to get all your COVID-19 vaccination questions answered so we can all get out the house and live our best lives again.
All right. Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury, joined by, or with Trey Holiday. So, Trey, you know, we had Director Meyerberg here. What was that? That Thursday? Meyerberg was here. And although he was talking about this SPD insurrection report, we had asked him about like, yo, what's up with the East Precinct? It's been over a year. You know, what's happening? He said they had just completed their last interview and they would be issuing a report here in the next few weeks. So hopefully that we'll get that report out. But in the interim, KUOW has filled the void. Let me put this up here. We know who made the call to leave Seattle's East Precinct last summer. Finally, KUOW, Isolde Rafferty, and put the link there in the comments, Cuddy. So, yeah, this one right here. Well, anyways, here's the takeaways. People can read the article, and it's not that long, and so people can kind of get through it. The timeline starts a bit later. I think it starts on like June 6th or something like that. But basically, most people already know because they read the article. But they're saying that Assistant Chief Tom Mahaffey, who was the incident commander, is the person who actually gave the order. It was Mahaffey and a crew of officers that he was working with. And it looked kind of cold how it went down, is that apparently Chief Best was under the assumption that the precinct was scaling down for the day to be able to let the protesters pass the precinct. But apparently Mahaffey had other plans, and that plan was to evacuate the precinct, feeling that they thought that the precinct was under attack and under threat. That's real interesting, though, because, you know, we got footage from all of these things. But anyways, so Mahaffey says Chief Best is thinking one thing. Apparently, this is all according to KUOW's reporting, and I encourage people to read the article. And they get to vacate the precinct, right? And it said Chief Best was unaware. Like I said, she thought they were just clearing the road. And then when it gets vacated, apparently Chief Best thought it was the mayor who gave the order. The mayor was sitting over there like, yo, we didn't tell anybody to do this. And another thing is Chief Best is known all along, you know, at least the same day or the next day, apparently, man, who gave the actual order. I mean, I'll get to that. That's another point there. But yeah, so this is, and I'll hand it over to you for a second. But this is, I see KUOW is reporting on it, but you know what? What we have been saying here for over 1 year now is that this is fine, the East Precinct, but if you go back to May 29th, I was the only reporter who was downtown that night, and May 29th, what we saw right there, and I remember I called my mama. I said, man, it looked like it's something's going on in the SPD, because what we witnessed there that night and how it was the wanton destruction of our brothers and sisters there in the CID, in Chinatown International District. Now, I know a lot of you guys, some of you might be new to Seattle and everything else, but, you know, grow up in the Central District, we always spent time down there in Chinatown, one way or another, you know what I'm saying? And the destruction of everything that happened there, those small business owners, a lot of these shops that we've been going to since we was kids and everything else, and the police sat right there, and they watched it, right? And some of that's on the live stream. And I was sitting there bugging on the stream. I was like, yo, there go the police. I was like, you know me, it's get ready to get funky. That was actually my first night actually ever streaming out there. So I hadn't come up with a funky and share the stream and all that. But I was like, yo, man, the police are coming. The Bank of America got kicked in. Washington Federal Credit Union got kicked in. This group walked right past the officers who were at the bank and then marched for 1.4 miles through downtown Seattle. And the whole time, it was like the police was just there following them and everything else. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I ain't never seen this here before, right? And, you know, since that night, I've been like, yo, I really feel, you know, that's a pivotal moment, because one of two things happened. Either the chief was unaware of what was going on in her city, you know what I'm saying, which means that she was totally derelict of duty, or no one told her what was going on. You got to remember, all the big cameras left, right? All the big cameras left at like 11 o'clock, all the live shots, and even my stream only had 15 minutes of battery that was down there. There was absolutely no media downtown, right? And I was the only reporting. Nobody was really on our stream back on May 29th. That was the first night of the protest. It was just community people. And so there was no coverage that night. And like I said, if you go and look through whatever, see who covered downtown Seattle and what happened, like I said, to our brothers and sisters in the Chinatown International District, you won't see no coverage on it. But I witnessed with my own eyes. And I was like, yo, man, it seemed like there's something that's up with SPD. And from that day, I've been like, yo, I think there's lots of microaggressions and many mutinies that be popping off inside the Seattle Police Department. Now, when you see here, you know, I mean, we've been saying it for a year.
I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, I think at the end of the day, we've been talking so much about transparency. And when I think about, you know, folks who may have known this and kept quiet, this really builds in and pours into the idea that many community members have out there in terms of not trusting police, because police are there to protect police, right? And they're there to police the community. It's very different, because it's not like a lot of people that I grew up with, people that I speak to and I deal with, for me, that they really feel secure and protected by police. Now, yes, if somebody's entering your home and they're, you know, trying to rob you or kill you or something, I get that. And there those extreme cases. I'm talking about on a day-to-day basis where, you know, based on what they're experiencing in their lives, that, yeah, you know, the police have been there for me. I don't hear that a lot in community.
Best is a veteran of the force from like 26, 27 years before becoming chief. Chief Best didn't have much experience in operations. You know what I'm saying? There's all these different avenues within a police department. Chief Best didn't have a lot of experience in operations. And, you know, my assumption is that also Chief Best relied upon other people in her command staff that might have had operations, you know, experience. But the story, I think maybe ends there with Mahaffrey giving the order. But, you know, if you really follow this, the story begins May 29th when, like I said, man, it was over an hour downtown. And so Chinatown International District, it gets tore up. Bank of America, Washington Federal, you know what I'm saying? Then walking north downtown, the King County Courthouse, the windows there, the IBM building, Brooks Brothers. You know, I documented the whole thing in my walk through the city. And the whole time we're sitting there, and you know what I'm saying? It's police, they're just sitting there and they're watching. Now, this was a group of white kids, so I wasn't totally shocked, because, you know, I mean, if it would have been some of us that was down there, maybe the response might have been different, but this was a group of white kids, like 90% white kids, that tore up the city. And I mean, from that moment right there, I would say this, you know, we're too small of a media company to go through thousands of emails like KUOW and some of the larger media companies. I would say you guys should go back in time just a little bit further and really see, did someone make Chief Best aware of what was going on in downtown Seattle on May 29th? It would be interesting to see what was the communication to Chief Best. I'm betting you, excuse me, I'm betting you that night the chief wasn't aware. And I'm betting you whoever the commanders were in the field probably told Chief Best, like, yeah, it's all good. And like I said, there was no live media that was out there to say anything contrary to whatever the officers were saying there at that time. All that said, though, man, you know, that's your job to be chief. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man, I don't take anybody's word. Not that I don't trust people, but even right here, people are like, yeah, I'm calling. Like, hey, you guys finished the video? Yeah, video's done. Let me see it. You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, also those relationships, being in this force almost 30 years, like I said, not having this background in operations and some of everything else. I think when the whole story comes out, that we'll see that Chief Best probably very much was fighting a mutiny from the inside the whole time that she was there in one way or another. It's microaggressions and all kinds of other stuff that's out there. But I think if people are going to tell the whole story now about what happened here at the protest and got access to read thousands of emails and everything else, start there on May 29th. Also, you know, another thing is that what's really interesting is SPD apparently knew that, like, these protests were coming one way or another. The whole country, you know, we waited till the weekend here in Seattle for people to really get in the streets. But this was something that was impacting the whole country. And SPD gave the people downtown, the business owners, or I should say the city, gave business owners no warning. You know what I'm saying? They didn't. They just left it, hung them out there to dry. They didn't give them any warning. I mean, people would board up their buildings, or you know what I'm saying, or do whatever. But I'm sure if we look closely at this situation around Chief Best and some of the actions of the command staff that's there, that we'll find that she's been circumvented several times, at least through May 29th through June 8th.
Well, you know, you're absolutely right, Omari. And I think, too, another point about this is that, you know, there was some indication there that, hey, we're going to let the protesters pass. So there's so much, I think, here that will be unraveled over time. We've really been saying it since last year, since all of this stuff erupted, that, you know, there's a lot of different pieces to this puzzle that need to be put together in order for that whole story to be told, for us to really understand all of the nuance in it, man. And ultimately, again, I think there's some things we'll never know, because there's this layer of kind of protection around, hey, that's not all public information or shouldn't be known by the public. But I think the more the public is aware, the more we're able to break down some of the barriers and begin to build the trust that's necessary. But you're right, I mean, this is something that's going to continue to unfold.
I mean, and this is one of my points that I want to address here, so I'll get to it kind of out of order, is that it's a shame that Chief Best, the Seattle Police Department, I'm assuming City Hall, unless the mayor's office is getting their news from KUOW as well, that these guys knew, and we've been waiting a year. The official report is still not out. No one over there had a willingness to just come forward to the citizens of Seattle, who they work for, to be like, yo, this is what happened. This is how this folded. It takes KUOW. I mean, you got to think about this situation we in. It takes KUOW to read through thousands of emails, put out a tremendous amount of research and resources and everything else to tell us something that anybody down there in City Hall could have just came forward and said. You know, I mean, so that kind of tells you something in itself. One of the interesting things in the article is that they said that Chief Diaz, he was assistant chief then, but now interim Chief Diaz, one of the suggestions that he made was, let's change the tactic and let's focus more on trying to communicate with the protesters. And apparently that was shot down. I only bring this up because they're on the Western Barricade, the nights where there was no real police violence, exchange of less than lethals. Most of those were the nights where one of the commanders or somebody came up to the line. I remember one night we were out there, so like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and the officers were just engaging the protesters in conversation. Now everybody knew they weren't going to agree, but that conversation right there changed the tone on the Western Barricade. And if people who followed me throughout the protest, you found it, I'd always say, like, see, this officer right here knows how to bring it down, because they literally take off the riot gear and come out there and talk to people up front. And it was a few nights. It was just people just tired themselves out. It'd be 3:30, 4 a.m. Police is like, we got to go. Protesters are like, we got to go, or whatever. But apparently in this article, Chief Diaz said, like, man, let's try more communication. Because when we caught it there on the live stream, a lot of people out there really just wanted to talk, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so many people. I mean, that's really what it's about. And I think that when we're talking about what does it look like to repair the relationships or build relationships. Some folks say there never was a great relationship between police and community. But what does it look like to actually have that? I mean, we have these entities right now. We have community voice that's alive and well. We got people that are really utilizing their opportunity to be involved in the process and be engaged. What does it look like to have those kind of conversations? We've seen it play out when we look at different examples. When you have police that come out there and speak to the people, when you have elected officials that come out of their houses and say, you know what, you protesters came to my house, let me just talk to y'all. Let me figure out what's going on. Let me come down to where you are. We've seen great examples of this. I think you're absolutely right that there's more that we can learn from and glean from when we break the monotony of keeping up this, this facade, keeping up our oomph, like, oh no, we're police, and oh no, we're community. But when you start to break it down, we're all just people at the the end of the day. You got to go back home to your families. I got to go back home to mine. How do we start to have those good conversations so that we can understand the commonalities?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And when you look at of all this stuff that's there, and you going through this article, well, one thing I wanted to point out is like we were live streaming when they were, because people didn't believe us. We're like, yeah, they're abandoning. And I remember we turned on the live stream. It wasn't an apocalyptic scene. That was one of the things that was described here in this article. I mean, we were just chilling, and the protesters were actually right there behind the barricade. It would be interesting though, like the FBI, when we hear that the FBI had a credible threat, and then when pressed, the spokesperson for the FBI said indications of a credible threat, it would be interesting to know, like, man, what was the threat that was against the East Precinct? Also, when we see some of these words that are used, the adjectives that are used there, it's like, man, precinct was under siege, precinct was under attack, and I'm just like, if the East Precinct was under siege and under attack, then I don't know what you describe what happened at the U.S. Capitol, because maybe without context, maybe somebody's like, yeah, but dog, that precinct was not under siege. The precinct was not under attack. There was a police line that was formed there, right there on the western barricade, and man, in all honesty, yes, there were things that went over the barricade for sure. But the precinct was not under siege. It wasn't under attack. And we have to remember, and I think one of the biggest points that I have here is that the police represent the state. That's the government. You know what I'm saying? The police represent the government, the state. And during that time, the government, the mayor's office, the police, they made a call out to the citizens of Seattle. And they said, don't hold us accountable for what another police force did thousands of miles away. We're not the Minneapolis police, we're the Seattle police. But conversely, though, and so the state wanted the people to trust them, right? But conversely, the state didn't have enough trust for the people. I was there that Sunday, the day before, and I've been saying it now for a year. That was the most peaceful protest that I've been at. Man, these guys wanted to stop everywhere and pray. And even right there at the East Precinct, they would stop, they'd take a knee, want people to take a knee with them, everything else. And pray. It was like, I was out there for almost 7-8 hours, and they got turned away from that precinct a few times. You know what I'm saying? A very peaceful group. And it's unfortunate that the city, the state, didn't trust the citizens, the very same citizens that put them in power.
This is exactly what I'm talking about with the trust, because you're right in terms of the peace. And it's really on us, those of us who experienced it, to be able to shape what that narrative really should be out there in the larger context. I mean, every opportunity that I get when people talk to me about it that are outside of Washington State, that say, man, I was watching it on the news and it looked like it was unruly and it looked like it was this and it was that. It's on us to be able to really share what we saw, what we experienced. And you're right, Omari. I say there was many a days I got that there was agitation there, but ultimately it was a lot of peaceful action. It was a lot of peaceful resolve that was really trying to take shape and take form. And when you think about the diversity of the people that came out of their homes, left their jobs and came straight to the Capitol Hill protest and was there, you have to understand that people were really out there because they saw a need for them to participate. And majority of those folks were not out there trying to, harm businesses or do anything to the precinct. They were there in solidarity with Black Lives Mattering, number one, and just George Floyd's death as well. But also, like we said this, they were there for something totally different until they got stopped at the Western Barricade, until they could not proceed and go past the East Precinct. Then it became like, wait a minute, You guys are actually stopping what we're trying to do here in just terms of peaceful movement. And it became like now, oh, you're gonna do this to us. You're gonna now, shoot rubber bullets at us and all that. Then we got the focus on the Seattle police. So it took on its own iterations. It really went through different integrations of why people were out there.
Yeah, and people should remember, though, as well, right, is that June 1st, the Flashpoint, the Pink Umbrella Day, again, that was a peaceful protest that started downtown. How you say it's a peaceful protest and everything else? Ask anybody who came all the way up Pine Street from 3rd, 4th Avenue. Ask any business owner that day. Was something sitting over there? Was it destroyed? Was a window broke? Was anything vandalized? Was it spray painted? Whatever. No. And even during the Western Barricade, when we talk about this a violent group and everything else that was there, man, what people don't understand is that the majority of the people out there in the Western Barricade, because it was a sustained protest, so many of them lived on the Hill. These are your same people when you go up there to Swedish and Harborview, and these are some of the people you see there. These are the people who are at, the tech bros, over at Google and Facebook and some everything else. Some of your favorite bartenders and servers and artists. Those were the people that were up there on the Hill. And I remember one day I turned the stream on to the camera and I asked people, you know what I'm saying? What it is, what do you do? And there's a narrative that's out there, and we see history being rewritten in real time here all across America and right here in Seattle as well. I would challenge people. The streams are there. We've never taken anything down. All the streams are there. You guys watch this stuff. I ain't watching it no more. But you guys watch this, and and you'll see. But the bigger issue here, like I said, around this report or this article at KUOW is that this is a real opportunity for investigative journalists who have time to mull over emails and everything else to really go back to May 29th, and you very well might see a pattern of not only that day and not only the day the precinct was evacuated, of all the different times where maybe Chief Best was cut out of communication, where officers acted on their own and some everything else. And you will be surprised what we see here. But also, what I'm saying? I mean, Chief Best isn't admonished for that. And if Chief Best knew exactly who did this, even after she retired, she could, what I'm saying? She could have kept it real. She wanted to wait till then, but Chief Best continued to be on TV and everything else. Like, man, I don't know. Who knows? We don't know. Even the very last the last interview we did with Chief Best, the same day she announced her retirement, and I asked her, man, who did this? And these guys have known. I think that after all of this, that's probably the worst, is that the police had an opportunity. And here in the city of Seattle, and I'll say this, I know we're getting up against the hour, is that here in the city of Seattle, we got an opportunity for all the stakeholders here to just put it out there. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's kind of holding something back about the protests. I think that if there's ever a way that we plan to move forward in this city, for people who've been impacted on all kinds of different levels, and especially the state, this is the government. And we always need to hold government to a higher level and to a higher threshold. This is the government. Man, the government should put everything out there. And you know what I'm saying? Allow people to resolve and move forward and things like that. But to be just sitting on this information they've known all along, and also, like I said, these mutinies have been going on inside this department, guys just need to put it out there.
Yeah, I think putting it out there really provides the opportunity for folks, again, to see a different approach, a different strategy with regard to really allowing people to be engaged. More transparency is not going to hurt you as a department. That is the thing. I think there's a big misnomer about, we got to kind of keep things out of a public eye. But the more we bring the public into these things, the better, Omari, if you ask me.
Yeah, I say all of this because the motivation is really a better city. And the last 1 year, it's been a long healing process. And we're not gonna go backwards, but it's been a long healing process. So I'm not saying this as a spectator. And I know that a lot of people who even watch the streams, they was traumatized vicariously. I say this as somebody who's a stakeholder, somebody who's directly impacted, somebody who's injured in the protest, and I'm still living with these injuries, you know what I'm saying, that were sustained in the protest. But I'm here to say that it's like, yo, man, let's just get this out here. You know what I'm saying? We can have no expectation for us to be a better city, for us to be a better Seattle, a better Emerald City. So, I mean, all these people that are hiding stuff and hiding information and everything else, man, it's just best to just, let's get this out here now. Let's put everything out here in front of the public, and let's give the citizen stakeholders of the Emerald City an opportunity to really be able to look at things and find a resolution, because at the end of the day, government works for us. We don't work for government, and we need to remember that anybody in City Hall, anybody in the executive branch, the legislative branch, any of these departments, they're accountable to we, the people, and we need to expect and demand more.
Yeah, absolutely. I nothing else to say there.
All right, top of the hour, Trey Holly. I had a lot of good stuff for you today, but I think this was an important discussion, so we'll move it to tomorrow. Any last words before we get out of here?
I mean, clearly, so many people that came out there during the protest movement were finding a way to be a part of the solution by bringing their voices to issues that matter to them. I encourage you guys to do the same. There's plenty more opportunities for you to do so. And, you know, dig deep. Find something that you're interested in and bring your voice to the solutions in that regard.
Yeah, good stuff.
Always.
You know what I'm saying? Any programming notes? I think we're good for here tonight. We're going to get out of here. There's a press conference going on right across the street. Man, I just want to take this last minute to just really say thank you. Man, thank you. Thank you, the citizens here of Seattle, man, and Puget Sound and beyond, for your support of like Converge, for your inspirational messages, for the letters that you send and the postcards, for you guys that subscribe and that you donate. I think that y'all know I'm a real sincere person. When I'm telling you thank you, it's because I mean it. And I'm saying thank you because y'all make a difference. I'm saying thank you because you guys keep us on air. That being said, I want to remind everybody to go forward in your purpose, go forward in your humanity. And until tomorrow at 11 a.m., peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.